Hi, my name is Francesca Watson and I am a jewelry maker instructor from the great state of Texas. Next June, I'm going to be at the Bead Button show in Milwaukee. I'm bringing some fantastic projects, and the folks at Bead Button thought you might like to take a closer look at them. So come on along with me and see what I'm bringing in June that might be of interest to you. The first class I want to introduce you to is probably one of the most popular classes I teach. This is kitchen table soldering, and it's intended for the maker who has never ever picked up a torch before. When I first started in jewelry making, I started out in wire and beading, which is, I think, true for a lot of folks. When I went to make the leap into metal, I was very intimidated, and so I want to help you get over that intimidation factor. We're going to learn about creating a bezel from scratch, soldering it to our back plate, choosing what kind of bail is most appropriate for the piece we're making. We're going to have two options in this class, this sort of invisible bail in the back and a pinch bail on the top. And then we're going to talk about how to set our stones. Okay, learning to set a stone can also feel very intimidating, but I promise you I can help show you ways that are simple and that create a really beautiful, clean setting for your beautiful cabochons. So this is a terrific class if you've never ever touched a torch before and you're interested in seeing if metal smithing is for you. The next classes I want to introduce you to are what I call next step projects. Probably the most popular one is what I call the big ring. And I have to say because apparently the word ASS, which is technically part of the name of this class, is a problem for some people. So we'll just say the big ring. This is a next step class, so you should have had some prior soldering experience and you should feel a little bit more comfortable with a torch. It's what I would call an advanced beginner class. And we're going to again talk about creating a bezel, soldering that down to a back plate, adding some more in-depth embellishment and design, maybe even using a jeweler's saw if you have some prior experience with that. If you don't worry about it. We'll choose some other options. And then we're going to talk about sizing and attaching ring bands, okay? Because there are some ways to do that and some ways not to do that. So we're going to talk about how to size your band properly and how to get it attached securely so your ring is nice and sturdy, okay? That's the big ring. The next steps class I wanted to introduce you to is a brand new class. It's called the lichen pendant, and I call it that because these beautiful little water casts remind me of lichens, the little organisms that grow on trees and stumps and rocks, and it turns out that there's something like 13,000 of them in the world, and they're all very different. I really love these little cup shapes. And so I'm going to show you a couple of simple ways to take your silver scrap and create these beautiful little embellishments. Again, stone setting is kind of a constant, so we're going to be making a bezel, soldering it to a back plate, and we're going to be making and applying these little water casts to our design. Now, this is a next steps class. It's a step up from both the big ring and the kitchen table soldering. You really should know how to solder, and you're going to need to know how to use a jeweler's saw. So if this is feeling a little bit intimidating to you, especially the jeweler's saw part, please don't feel badly about that. Lots and lots of people feel nervous about the jeweler's saw. If this is a class you really want to take and you're concerned about your sawing skills, please go ahead and sign up for the class and send me an email. I will connect you with some online resources I've created that hopefully will help you with that, okay? Give you some time to practice so that you're ready to take this class in June. So this is called the lichen pendant, and I'm going to be offering it at Bead Button for the first time. The next class I want to introduce you to is what I'm calling broken symmetry. This is definitely an intermediate project, and you need to be able to solder unattended and to have the ability to use the jeweler's saw. We're going to be, again, setting stones. That's kind of a constant. I love stones. But we're going to be talking about some open boxwork techniques. We're going to be using some negative space. We're going to be using some unusual materials. And we're going to be creating a different kind of bail for this piece. This is going to sort of grow out of the shape of your stone. And so if your stone is a slightly different shape, your pendant will look a little bit different too. So we'll be talking about design elements and how to design using your stone as a starting point. So it's going to be, I think, a lot of stuff packed into one day, and I think is going to be a really fun project. This is definitely an intermediate project, though. So again, you've got to be able to solder unattended, and you really should be comfortable using a jeweler's saw. Another new class that I'm bringing to Bead Button is called Clear Waters, and I'm really excited about this because I don't very often get a chance to offer all levels classes, but this is definitely an all levels class. We're going to be able to show you, regardless of whether you're just a beginner or you're a little bit more advanced, we're going to be able to show you some fun things, how to create these very organic shapes, how to fit them together, how to add some textured sheet to your pieces. Again, that going to make use of this negative space, which I'm kind of enamored of right now. And then we're also going to talk about ways to take those shapes and use them to modify commercial chains so that you can kind of make the most out of some of the beautiful chain options that are available out on the market, but still make them your own. This is all levels because if you maybe don't have quite the soldering skills that you'd like to have, this is going to be a great practice project. There's going to be a lot of soldering, and most of it is non-fatal. What I mean by that is that if you screw something up, it's not going to mean the end of your project. You may do a few fewer cells in your piece, and you may elect to arrange them differently. Here's the same kind of idea, but in a different pattern. You'll also notice that this chain has not been embellished with any additional links or stations. So regardless of what level soldering ability you have, I think this is a project that really could help you maybe think outside the box or ramp up your skills a little bit. I'm calling this Clear Waters, and I'm offering it for the first time in 2019. Last but not least is a project that is very, very personal to me. I don't do a lot of what I call woo-woo jewelry, meaning that most of my jewelry is just things that I make because I like the way they look or a stone inspired me. But these pieces were inspired by a retreat I did a number of years ago with a phenomenal artist named Connie Fox. And we were all called on to kind of dig a little bit deeper and make things that were a little bit more personal. And so this is a piece that I have been making for several years now. And I got a lot of requests to please share it, so I did. I'm very, very grateful to the folks at Bead Button for letting me bring it. It's called the Redemption Ring. You'll see here that I have a version that's a pendant, so if rings are not your thing, just know that this is a project that can work as a pendant as well. And let me explain to you why it's so personal. This ring is a metaphor for the lives of women, which is that life leaves marks, and sometimes we get a little ragged around the edges. And we spend a fair amount of time and energy trying to dress up the outside. But the truth of the matter is that the good stuff, the valuable stuff, is inside, and you have to look for it. So inside each of these rings are two 18-karat gold nuggets and a gemstone. It's set on a dimensional elevated back plate, so it's got some dimension to it. And then the ring is, again, fairly straightforward. It can be as textured or untextured as you'd like. This one is a hammered texture. This one is fairly plain. I've had students who have cut this out, pierced it, really made it unique and unusual. And so this is a project that's going to take us 2 days to do, and it is absolutely jam-packed with techniques. It's one of those things I sort of threw the kitchen sink at it. So we're going to be talking about Kembu. I'm very grateful to my friends and partners at Pepe Tools. They're going to be providing us with rolling mills for this class. We're going to roll print metal. We're going to be doing Kembu, which is a really wonderful embellishment technique, one of my very favorite things to do when I'm working with textured metal. We're going to be tube setting gemstones. We're going to be working with 18-karat gold. This is going to be a pretty, again, non-fatal application of gold if you're a little bit apprehensive about it. You can't screw up your project, I promise you can't. And we're going to be doing these very interesting and a little bit challenging elevated prong settings for the top of this piece. We'll be creating a ring, and you'll be able to make this as personal as you'd like. The other thing about this class, this really is an advanced intermediate project, I would say. You really have to be able to saw comfortably. We are going to be doing what I call drawing with the saw, which means that this is not going to be a pattern or template you're going to be cutting out. You're going to have to do that freestyle and free form, and I want you to be comfortable with that. So this would not be a good choice for you if you hate the jeweler saw. If you would like to get over your hatred of the jeweler saw and you would like to take this class, or if you're looking for an opportunity to practice it, go ahead and send me an email, and let's see what we can do to maybe make you comfortable enough to take the class. Again, this is called the Redemption Ring. We are doing it as a ring, but it's a project that absolutely works as a pendant if a ring is not, a ring is not your thing. Okay, so those are the projects that I'm bringing to Bead Button, but I'm also bringing something else that I think is really important. You may have noticed that I showed you all of these projects using an overhead camera shot, and that's part of a camera rig that comes with me on the road. What does that mean? Well, I know that as a student in a large class with a lot of fellow students, it can be really hard sometimes to see what the instructor is doing, or at least to see it clearly enough that it gives you a good idea of what to expect when you sit down to do it yourself. I bring multiple cameras with me, and we set it up so that you can see my bench pin, you can see my block, my bench block, and you can see my soldering station. You'll be able to see all of that clearly in high definition, just exactly as if you were standing right over my shoulder. I think that this is important because you're investing a lot of time and resources to come to this show, and I want to make sure it's the best possible experience you can have. In addition to this, you'll be given access to some online resources that I have about how to set up and make the best use of your home soldering station, your own bench setup, some tips and tricks that I pick up along the way, maybe tools that I like. That's a growing resource. It's an ongoing thing. So just by being a student of mine, you'll have access to all of that. Last but not least, I am bringing all of the tools and equipment necessary for you to do these projects, every single bit of it. So you don't have to get on a plane or get in your car and pack your entire bench. Please bring eye magnification, okay? I almost never go anywhere without this on my head. Sometimes I forget when I walk out of the studio. I can tell you that being able to properly see what you're doing when you work is the #1 complaint I hear from students when they come to these shows. Please, reading glasses are probably not sufficient. Take a minute, invest in some really good eye magnification, and bring that with you. I can't help you if you can't see. The second thing I need you to bring is some kind of task lighting. I would prefer if it was battery operated, but I know that those can be a little bit pricey. If you already have a task light that you love, we will have some outlets you can plug it into, but you're going to need some better light at your workstation than what's available in those big, gigantic, cavernous rooms. So that's it. I'm already gearing up to be there in June, and I'm really looking forward to it. The Bead Button show is always a good time, and so I can't wait. We're already prepping some things and tweaking some things and making sure that we have everything together. We're writing up handouts and resource lists and all of the things that we can do to make sure that you have a fantastic experience with us at Bead Button in Milwaukee in June. I hope that this video has been helpful to you. I know you've got a lot of things to choose from. I hope you'll consider joining me in Milwaukee, and I'll see you there. Thanks so much.